Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Brilliant as the Sun, a retelling of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4. We're going to be reading from chapter 24, the Prachetas meet Lord Shiva. Kam karoti vachanam, pangum langaite girim, yatkripatama mande, Shri Gurum Dinatarinam, Paramananda Madhavam, Shri Chaitanyeshwaram, Hari Om Tat Sat. The 10 princes, known as the Prachetas, set off to perform austerity and on the way meet Shiva, who teaches them a prayer. All glories to King Prithu, exclaimed Vidur. What a magnificent personality, my dear Maitreya. Please tell me about his descendants. Surely there were other great souls in his line. There were indeed, listen as I tell you their names and glorious deeds. Verses 1 to 5. Prithu's eldest son, Vijitshava, became emperor after his father and divided the world among his younger brothers, toward whom he was most affectionate. His brother Haryaksha ruled over the east, Dhumra Rakesha the south, Vrika the west, and Dravina the north. In the incident I have already described, Vijitshava pleased Indra, thus the god bestowed on him the title Antardhan, one who can vanish at will. Antardhan. Antardhan begot 3 sons in his wife Shikhandini. Their names were Pavaka, Pavaman, and Suchi. They had previously been fire gods, but due to sage Vasishtha's curse were obliged to take birth as Antardhan's sons. By yoga practice they attained their former positions. He also had a 4th son, Havirdhana, by another wife, Nabhaswati. What did Vijitshava do to please Indra? Asked Vidur. Maitreya said, Vijitshava had a deep grasp of religious principles. When Indra made himself invisible and stole King Prithu's sacrificial horse, Vijitshava refrained from killing him because he understood that such powerful persons are not always punishable when they commit an abominable act. I see, said Vidur. It made sense. After all, Indra was a devotee and certainly very powerful. It is not always easy to understand the acts of such personalities. Verses 6 to 7, Maitreya continued. Emperor Antardhan did not like to tax, punish, or fine his citizens, and he retired from his royal duties on the plea of undertaking a lengthy sacrifice. Although such activities were usually performed for material benefit, Antardhan took the opportunity afforded by the sacrifice to hear and chant about Krishna, who eradicates his devotees' fears. By worshipping Krishna in ecstatic love, Antardhan attained the Lord's spiritual abode. Verses 8 to 10. Antardhan's son Havirdhan married Havirdhani, who bore him 6 sons named Barhishat, Gaya, Shukla, Krishna, Satya, and Jitavrata. Barihasht was expert both in performing karmic sacrifice and in mystic yoga. He became a great Prajapati and systematically executed sacrifice all over the world. As a result, the earth became covered with sacred kusha grasses, their tips pointing eastward. Verses 11 to 12. Havirdhana's eldest son, Barhishat, was also known as Prachinarbhi. Prachin Barhi. So Barhishat was also known as Prachin Barhi. He was ordered by Lord Brahma to marry Shatadruti, the daughter of ocean god Samudra. Shatadruti was so beautiful that when she circled the fire in the marriage arena, the fire god Agni became attracted to her, just as he had once been attracted to Shuki, the wife of celestial sage. As she walked around the sacred fire, merely the sound of her tinkling ankle bells captivated the gods, Gandharvas, Siddhas, Nagas, demons, sages and humans despite their elevated knowledge. Verses 13 to 15. Prachina Barhi begot 10 children in Shatadruti known as the Prachetas, all of whom were highly virtuous. When Prachina Barhi ordered his sons to marry and beget children, they decided to first enter the ocean and purify themselves by performing austerities and penance for 10,000 years. In this way, they worshipped Krishna, the master of all austerity. On their way to the ocean, they met and pleased Lord Shiva, who instructed them in the absolute truth. Prachina Barhi's sons meditated on those instructions, repeated them, and worshipped the Lord with great care and attention. Verses 16 to 18. Vidur became curious. My dear Brahmin, please tell me how they met Shiva, what they did to please him, and what he told them. I'm sure the account of their meeting must have great value. Therefore, please be merciful and narrate it to me. Rarely does an embodied soul personally contact Shiva. Even great sages devoid of material attachment cannot see him. Despite always meditating upon him to attain his audience, that great Lord is the most powerful God, second only to Vishnu. Although he does not aspire for anything in the material world for others' benefit, he is busily engaged everywhere, accompanied by his dangerous energies such as the goddesses Kali and Durga. Maitreya said, listen carefully and I shall relate the whole incident. King Prachina Barhi sat on his great throne surrounded by ministers and palace Brahmins. 10 young men stood before him with bowed heads and folded palms. My dear sons, my wish is that you all marry. Your Prachetas are royal warriors and it is your duty to beget good children. The eldest son replied, Father, your wish is our command. Kindly, however, give us time to consider how best to execute your desire. Prachina Barhi smiled. Certainly, you may discuss among yourselves. The 10 princes bowed before their father and retired to a quiet spot in the palace grounds. Verse 19, the Prachetas spoke together. Our father's order cannot be ignored, said one. But first, we must purify our hearts. Yes, replied another, there we will beget pious children. I suggest we go to the ocean and meditate in its depths, said another. There we will not be disturbed. They all agreed. After informing their father of the desire and receiving his blessings, they left home, heading westward toward the sea. Verses 20 to 22. After a while, they came across a large lake. One brother said, this is so vast, it resembles the ocean. Another said, just see how calm it is, like the mind of a saint. Perhaps we can meditate here. The brothers surveyed the lake. It was covered with red, white, and bluish lotus flowers. Swans, cranes, chakravarks, and other beautiful birds played on its waters, which were surrounded by tall blossoming trees whose branches hung down to the water's edge. The humming of bees mixed with the melodious bird cries. It seemed as if the denizens of this region are celebrating a joyous festival, said one of the princes. Verses 23 to 25. As the Prachetas spoke together, they heard the strains of celestial music coming from the lake. They watched in amazement as Lord Shiva, along with numerous associates, emerged from the water. His body glowed like molten gold and his neck was blue. Surrounded by musicians who glorified him with melodious hymns, Shiva looked kindly toward the Prachetas with his 3 eyes, then immediately fell flat at his feet to offer him respects. Verses 26 and 27, Shiva smiled at them. He said, my dear sons of Prachina Barhi, I am pleased with your virtue and gentility, and I wish you all good fortune. I know you are here to worship Lord Krishna, and therefore I have come to do you good. The Prachetas gazed at Shiva. How had they achieved such good fortune that the mighty God had personally come to show them his mercy. Verses 28 to 31. Understanding their demands, Shiva said, anyone who surrenders to Krishna, the controller of everything, is very dear to me. It is said that one who perfectly performs his prescribed duty for 100 births can attain the post of Brahma. And one still more qualified will come to my abode. A person surrendered to Krishna, however, reaches his eternal realm at the end of their life. Neither myself nor any other gods achieve this destination until devotees you are as himself. The brothers placed their palms together and bowed their heads. The elders said, O Lord, you are Krishna's greatest devotee. We are your servants. Shiva smiled and raised a hand in blessing. I know that because I am also Krishna's devotee, you hold me as dear as you do the Lord. I will therefore teach you a transcendental prayer which will enable you to quickly attain life's ultimate goal. Please hear it with attention. Shiva smiled and raised a hand in blessing. I know that because I am also Krishna's devotee, you hold me as dear as you do the Lord. I will therefore teach you a transcendental prayer which will enable you to quickly attain life's ultimate goal. Please hear it with attention. The Prachetas stood in semicircle before Shiva, listening intently as he began his prayer. Verses 32 to 34. O Supreme Person, all glories to you. You are the best of self-realized souls, always auspicious for those who know you. Kindly show me your mercy. Your instructions are perfect and should always be obeyed. I therefore worship you, the Super Soul, in everyone's heart. My Lord, from your navel sprouts the cosmic lotus, the origin of the material creation. You are also the source of material senses and sense objects. Please give me your mercy so I may dedicate my senses to you. I am constantly disturbed by the waves of material existence, hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age and death. However, as Vasudev, the origin of consciousness, who is all-pervading, you are always peaceful. I bow to you and beg that you make my consciousness suitable for serving you. Verse 35 now. Dear Lord, as Sankarshan, the deity of false ego, you amalgamate the cosmos and then, in due course of time, dissolve it by the fire emanating from your mouth. Please therefore burn up my attachments born of false ego, bind my attachment to you and my ego to my identity as your devotee. You are Pradyumna, the Lord of intelligence. Please awaken my intelligence so that I serve you. Verses 36 to 37. You are Aniruddha, the origin of the mind, the chief sense. Please attract my mind exclusively to your service. The sun god and expansion of your form as Aniruddha purifies all things. Kindly therefore purify my mind so I can understand spiritual truths. O Aniruddha, you help materialists attain the higher planets and transcendentalists achieve liberation. Your golden semen becomes Agni, the fire god who presides over the voice and makes possible for 4 types of the fire sacrifice known as Chaturhotra. Please therefore inspire me to use my voice to perform the sacrifice of chanting Krishna's glory. Verse 38. Dear Aniruddha, you also expand as Soma, the moon god who controls the mind. He provides the foods offered to the gods and the forefathers. Furthermore, you are the origin of the 3 Vedas, which instruct everyone in their obligations to their forefathers, the gods, other living beings, and saintly people. Kindly free me from all such obligations by giving me strength to engage fully in your loving service. Soma is also responsible for the tongue's ability to relish and taste food. Please give me the strength that I will not taste anything but your sacred remnants. Verse 39, my dear Lord, you are the gigantic universal form which contains all the living entities, bodies. By your grace, may everyone's body senses be engaged in your devotional service. For example, let our noses be engaged in smelling flowers offered to your lotus feet, and our hands engaged in cleansing your temple. As the life breath of every living entity, you maintain the three worlds. Consequently, you alone enable everyone to engage in life's real duty with full bodily and mental strength. I pray that I may serve you with my life, wealth, intelligence, and words. The Prachetas looked at each other. They each had the same question on their mind. What was the need to pray in this way? Was the intention to serve Krishna not sufficient? Shiva said, even though you may desire to engage in Lord's service without his sanction, you cannot do so. That is why I am teaching you how to pray for the Lord's mercy. Only by the grace can you serve him. Verse 40. The brothers thanked Shiva and continued his instructions. My Lord, you are spiritual sound which reveals the truth of both matter and spirit. Your holy names are the essence of these liberation. You are also the pervading ether that carries the sound. Please purify me so that by chanting your holy names, I may understand both the material worlds and the higher spiritual worlds known as the Vaikuntha planets. The spiritual planets, like yourself, are supremely pure, and only those who are completely purified can approach them. So we'll continue with the remainder of the chapter next time. The Prachetas meet Lord Shiva. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.